Hello everyone! It's time for you now to know how to use Firestore completely with Nowa. So if you were watching the last videos we released, we were actually showing how to integrate Firebase into your app in Nowa. We showed you how to do a full email authentication, we showed you how to connect your Firebase project to your app in Nowa, and now we're going to talk about Firestore. So we are building a to-do app using Firestore and also using Firebase in general, but we're going to use Firestore beside the authentication. But before we actually showing how to do Firestore on our to-do app, we were thinking to do a video tutorial to show you how to use Firestore in general. So in this video, it's not related to the to-do app that we've been trying to build. It's more of showing you everything you can do with Firestore and Nowa in a single video. So here, what I'm going to try to build in this video is an e-commerce app. So I have here just a single card of an e-commerce app, like a single item. And in this card, which is a component, I'm going to show some products from Firestore. Now, if you want to see how to design this component, please watch the previous video we made about designing an e-commerce app. But now let's jump into Firestore. So in the first step that you have to do all the time is to set up your Firebase project and connect it to your app in Nowa. So here, if I go to Firebase, I can see that I already have a project ID and I already have the config file. So I already did the setup. Now, if you're just starting out from now, please watch the first video in the series of how to do that. So now we will jump on Firestore immediately. But before we do it in Nowa, let's do it actually in Firebase itself. So here I have my Firebase dashboard and already have the project created and already connected it to my app in Nowa. So now I'm going to create a database. So what is Firestore? Good question to ask, right? So Firestore is a database that consists of collections, and each collection has documents. And it's a NoSQL database. So there's no, it's not tables. There's no forced structure. You can actually do the schema as you want. That's the power of NoSQL database. And there is something called collections, and there's something called sub-collections, which is like a collection that comes underneath a specific document. But for more about that, please just go check out the official documentation for Firestore, and also you can check some good YouTube videos about that. For now, we're going to keep it simple in the schema of the database. In the to-do app that we're going to do next, we're going to talk about more about database design. But here, I will make it simple. So let's actually create our database first. So first I need to pick the location of the database. And I don't care in this, in this case, but usually sometimes for some apps, some governments force that the database to be in a specific location. Well, I don't need to worry about this right now. And the next step is to set the security rules. So here I have two options, the production mode and the test mode. If I choose a test mode, and if I look here, I can see that I can add and read documents from my database without authentication until I get to this timestamp, which is 13th of September. Today is 14th of August, so I have almost a month of testing. And then after this, it will not be able to write in the database. Now, this is unsecure way because we're actually opening anyone that has access to the database to add documents or read documents. But later, when you actually publish your application to be live, you need to switch to production mode. And in production mode, by default, no one is allowed to read or write from the database. But here, later, you can modify it and allow users who are authenticated to do requests on the database. So if you are offering like an authentication system, you can have like the user ID of the user, and you can see like if the request is coming from an app that have a user ID that you already have in the database, then allow that user to read and write. Otherwise, do not allow this. Now, to know about this, you can read more on security rules on the official website of Firebase. But for now, we're gonna go with test mode, so we don't need to worry about this in this video at least. So I'm gonna create my database. And then comes the database design question of like, how should my database look like? And for me, now I'm gonna do a simple collection called products. And inside, it will just have documents. Each document will present a product. So I'm gonna actually do like fill some data here just for us to start. So first of all, I'm gonna create a collection and I will call it products. And I can then have it will ask me then to create documents inside. I can give an ID for the document. I can give a customized one, but I can also give a random one. And I will have like a name, a price, and the image URL. And here I will put the name of the product I want. I will put also the price. The price should be like a number. So I'm gonna pick a number. So let's say name, okay, let me create an e-commerce app that actually offers football shoes. Sorry, because I love football. So I actually actually very obsessed with football shoes. So I will write that, then let's say the name of the first item will be Adidas F50. And the price for the shoes is like 199, let's say. And I'm gonna paste an image URL. So I will fill the database and I will include 4 products before we actually keep going in the tutorial. All right, so we created now 4 products. So I created 4 documents. Each document is a product and each one had a name. For example, this one, the shoe's name is Nike Phantom. It has an image URL for the shoes and it has a price. And of course, like if you want to add a new document, you can just click here, you put an auto ID and you put the structure you want. And the NoSQL database gives you the option to put the structure you want. But here, I'm keeping the same structure for all the documents. So all the documents have a name, a price, and an image URL. And also be sure that you put them, it's a case sensitive. So like capital and small letter make a difference. So I made sure that they all have the same structure for every document. And this is really important for our case because we're gonna create later an object inside Nowa that will actually handle the documents. So if we want this object to work on all the documents, they should all have the same structure. So let's get back to Nowa and see how can we continue. So now we're here. So let's go back to Firestore, and I can see there's only 2 things you have to do here: a collection and a query. A collection, you need to define the structure of the data inside your collections, because Nowa will use that to create a data model that it will use, like later use the data model to display the data inside the app. And a query, you will include here the specific queries you will need, like a query to get all the products, query to filter the products, query to add a product if you want the user to be able to add a product, or if you want to have like an app for the owner of the store to add a product. So we will see this later. So let's go back to collections, and we have one collection only, which is products. So I'm gonna call it products. And here it will ask me to include the schema or the structure or the fields of the documents inside that collection. So in the products, we have a name field, we have a price field, and we have an image URL field. And the price is a double. So you can put like 19.5, for example, or 99.99, the price that most products now have. So we have now the schema of products. And by the way, you can create sub-collections. We can talk about this later in the to-do app, where you will need to do sub-collections sometimes, which is a collection under each document. But this is way advanced in this video, so we're going to talk about it in the to-do app. So what's going to happen now is that Nowa will create a model called products, but this model is actually the single product inside the collection. So we will see later what do I mean by that. For now, we can also include default values. So here I'm going to write default name, and in the price I will put a specific price as a default. So I'm going to keep, let's say 19.9, and the image URL I will actually maybe try to paste a single shoes as a this is actually from Nike itself, so I'm just gonna keep it as a default. Now the default only for me to see it inside the Nowa itself when I'm designing, because when you are inside the app, you will not fire requests on the store because it will be expensive otherwise. So I just need those as like a placeholder until I actually run the app. So now here you can find something called isFinal, but you don't need that here. It's only if you want the object to change. So if you want the same product, the name of the price to change, then you actually, no, if you don't want the item here to change, then you put isFinal. But it's not actually important in this case. We will actually talk about it in other videos, also in the to-do app. So I have here the structure ready for the collection. Next step is to create a query. So first of all, you put the name of the query. And the first query I'm going to create, so we're going to create today 4 queries. The first one is get all products. And I'm going to get all the products inside my collection. So here we have a new panel. So in this box, I will build the query, okay? Here I can see the return of the query, and the return should match. We'll talk about this later, but it should be a specific type. So if you see here like a yellow warning, this means like this is not a complete query, so you have to complete it. And here I can see a panel where I can do testing. So I can test if the query is correct and actually bringing me correct data. And then when it's good, I can go and connect it to the UI. So the first step on any query, to choose a collection that you will apply the query to. So here I have one collection, which is the products. So I'm going to choose it. So now I'm applying a query on the products. And then you will see a list of options. So let's go them quickly. Add, you will add a document to the collection. Doc, if you want to get a specific document with a specific ID. Get and snapshots are usually the last thing you will add in a query to close a query. So get will bring you the data that's available in the collection, but snapshots will get you the live data, which means that if the data changes in the database later, it automatically will update. But if you do get, then the user have to refresh again to be able to get the new data. We will see this in action. Where we're going to apply some conditions, like if you want the price to be less than a number. We will actually do this in this video. Order by, if I want to order the product, count to see the number of documents available in the collection, which is like, in our case, the number of documents. So now I'm going to do the simplest form, which is like get. And here now I can see a green light because get returns something called a future of a query snapshot. It's, if you know Flutter, you will be familiar with those types that I need to return a future or a stream so I can use inside. And if it's not a future or a stream, it will show you the warning. But now it's a future, which is like, it's a future of that it will like fire the request, wait a little bit, get the data, if you're not familiar with the term in Flutter. So now we have a green light, so we can actually use this query. So now I am done with the query, and now I want to run a test to see if it's actually correct. So if I click on run test, I would actually see the results from the collection. So I can see like the 4 products I added with their price and with their image URL. Good. Here you can also like, for example, if you want to keep it like compact, if you want to like beautify it, if you want to copy the results, this is like a JSON editor where you can see, you can even like close documents and see like, so I can see here if I close them, I have like those 4 documents and each one have a name, price, and an image or URL. Good. So now we're done on, like we are done from building the query. Let's go back to the UI. And it's really important to actually focus because here it can be a little bit tricky. So the first thing, what I'm going to do, I'm going to just drop an up bar. I'm going to call it products. And I will have, actually I'm going to make it pretty or like kind of fancy. So I will keep the products to be like have a dark up bar, and inside I'm going to keep the color to be white of the text inside the text, the up bar. Okay. And I want to drop a GridView widget. And to be able to make the GridView go through the full width and the full height, I need to change the layout of the screen to make it a row or a column. and then everything inside have something extra called expand. So I can expand it to get the old space. We talked about this before many times, so you can watch one of the tutorials of the UI. Okay, so now I have a placeholder. And then what I want to do is I want to show the item card inside. So here in the placeholder, in the item builder, I will choose the item card, and I will put some space in the main, so I can put some space between the like I did put a main spacing, which is space on the main axis, and because it's a vertical, the main axis is the vertical one, so it's now having a space here. Okay, so now I have the UI. Okay, if I click on play, I can see the UI, but I want to get the data from the query. So the first step is to add a wrapper, and the wrapper called data builder. And this wrapper, we already talked about it before. Its job to get the data from an API source or from Firebase or from even Supabase and inject the data to all the widgets that comes underneath it. So here, I only need to use the data in the GridView. So you need to put the data builder wrapper on the GridView or on any widget above the GridView. So this widget will have access to the data from the data builder. So here I only need to use it in the GridView. So I have a home screen and then a GridView. So here I can actually locate the wrapper, and this is a good position. So I can click here and say data builder. And the source is the Firestore, and the query is get all products. And also here I can set like the loading widget, so what's going to happen if it was loading, or even the error if it's happened, like what to display. But for now, we will talk about those things for later. And now I have the data builder. So now anything that comes on the widget that the wrapper is above, or any widget below it, have now something extra called data. So here in the GridView, in the list, I need to connect the data that the GridView will use to render the items. And it should be a list. So if I click on connect inside locals, I can see something called data. And this is coming from the data builder. Now, if the data builder was below the GridView, the GridView will not be able to see the data. Now, the data is available in the GridView or any widget below the GridView just because the wrapper of the data builder is above. So if you think about it as a tree, it's a widget, it's like a Flutter tree, and if something is injected in a specific place in the tree, anything below it, they can see it. Anything above it, they cannot see it. Okay, so let's actually now connect the list. So in the locals, again, we said that I can see the data, but the data here is not a list. It's a query snapshot of products. So this is how Firebase returns the data. They return the data as an object from this type. You don't need to understand it, but this type has multiple options. It has docs, which is the list of the items inside the collection, which is what we need. But also I can get something like the size of the collection, the metadata. But for now, I'm just gonna choose docs. So now I am the list, which is called docs, that comes from the data, which comes from the data builder, which comes from the Firestore, is now connected to the GridView. All right. So now the next step is I need to pass every item from the list to its own component inside. So the GridView, what's it gonna do now? It will render the, like now the GridView has a placeholder of item card. So the GridView will make a copy of this item card depending on the number of the items in the list. So if I connect the GridView to a list of 5 items, the GridView will render this item card 5 times for every single item. So if I click on play, I can see here there's 4 carts. This is because the database we have it has 4 products. So now the GridView, because it looks in the data, in the docs, and it sees that this is a list of 4 items, so I will render 4 items from this component, which is called the item card. But it's not yet displaying the data inside. So now the GridView will make a copy according to the number of the items, but you need to map how the data from a single item need to be displayed. And the number that is, the reason it's not automatic because you can do it in multiple ways. So the simplest way to do it, that I will create a parameter in the card itself, which called product. And this parameter, I'm gonna use it to pass a product item to it, and it will render it. So I'll go to the variables and create a parameter and call it product. So what's gonna happen is that every time I want to use this card, I need to pass a product object to it, and then the card should be able to extract the name, the image, and the price from the product. So the type of the parameter should be from the same type of the collection. So the collection we created before is products. And I told you that Nowa already created a model called products that will hold the information of a document inside the product, which is like will have the name and the price and the image URL. So the type here will also be products. So now if I open it here, I can see that it has a name, a price, and an image URL. Because the collection products, the model of it, is how the data inside will be modeled, which is that it will have a name, a price, and an image URL. And those are the default values that when I created the model, and I entered them here, the name and the price, which is like 19, and the image, which is this one. Those are the default values of the object that's called products. Now, inside in the details panel, I will then use this parameter to get the data. So the image here, it will not be a fixed value like what we have right now. It will be actually be taken from the product parameter that I just created. And because it's created inside the component, it's a local variable. So if I click on the products, I can see what's inside. And here I can see the image URL. So I choose it. Now, this is a default value that I'm displaying here when I pasted here. So it's just good for now because I'm only doing this only to as like a placeholder for the data, because I'm not actually firing requests on the database now, because you pay for every read and write. So while you are in the designer, we avoid to fire requests, so it doesn't cost you. But when you play, then it will fire the actual request. So now we have this image, and then in the name, I will actually choose like the text widget. I can do it from the board, or I can also go from the outline and choose it. And the text property inside the text widget will be taken from the name inside the product. And here I can see default name, which is a default value again, and the price also. I will choose the price widget, and I'm gonna take it from the products and then price. Now here I can see an error that type double is not a substring of type string, because the text here expects a string, but the price here is a double because it's a number. It's not a string. So I need to choose toString to actually show the number. Wait, I actually did this on the product. No. Okay. Now I'm doing toString on the product itself, so it show all the data of the product, but this is not what I want. I want to get the price first, and then in the price I need to get the toString. So now I can see the price. This is again the default value. Okay, so now if I pass a parameter called product to this card, it will then use it to extract the image, price, and name. But now I need to do something else. So now I need to tell the GridView how to send the data. So in the GridView, I can see the placeholder here, which is the same item card. And here I can see the parameter I just created, which is, or what's called product. And the type of it is products, which is a collection that I created. So now this is taking the default value because I'm not passing anything. But here I need to map the single item from the list to the component. So if I click on product and I go to locals, I can see something called element. So element is the single item from the list, which is this list, the data.docs. And so like anything comes underneath the grid view now have an access to something extra called the element, which is a single item from the list that's supposed to be sent to that specific copy of item card. So because it's not automatic, because here, for example, instead of having it as a product object, I can also do 3 parameters. I can do a parameter of the name, the image, and the URL, and then here I can like, get the same element and get those data from inside. But I did something different. I created a parameter from the type product, or like called product, and here I just will tell the grid view that you need only to pass the single item from the list to that specific card and only map it to the product parameter. So here if I choose element, now element comes from something called query document snapshot. It's also how the list comes from Firebase. So Firebase, usually they wrap everything inside query stuff. Like, so you saw the data is wrapped inside something called like a list of queries. So you have to do data, like here we use data.docs because data is a specific type that's coming from Firebase. And also the same thing applies for a single item inside the list. So every single item inside the list is also inside something called query document snapshot, but I want to get the data from it. So if I go to the element, here I can get the data. Now the data is from the type products, which means that the single item that comes from the list, when I get the data from it, it's the same structure of the data inside the collection that's called products. So I hope that's not that confusing. So now here, what's happening, again, to wrap up quickly, I am having a list called docs, which is a list of the products inside the database, which are like those. So a list of those items, okay? And then, so the grid view will give access to the item below it, to the specific item that it will send to. So grid view initially will make copies that's like match the number of the items in the list that's connected to, but then later it will wait for you to tell the grid view how to map the data. So everything underneath the grid view will have an extra local variable called element, which is like the specific item from that list. And then you tell them like, all right, I want that when you create a copy of the item card, I want you to pass the element to the parameter that's called products. But because the element coming from Firebase, so it's like a different type, I need to get the element dot data. So I need to get the data inside the element, which is the single product, okay, and map it to the products. So also to make it work, remember the products here, the product parameter is from the type products. So it's from the same type as a collection here. And also the element dot data inside the grid view here is also from the same type. So this is why I could match them together, because they are the same type, which is like the same structure of a single product inside the collection products. Okay, so now I'm mapping it. So now if I click on play, I will see that I can see 4 cards for the 4 products that I have. Amazing. Okay, what's next? Now I'm gonna make it more advanced a little bit. I'm gonna make a query to filter on the price. So the first step is going back to the Firestore, and in the queries I will create a new query, and I'm gonna call it get, or like filter by price. And here I will go to the collection products and I will apply the condition where. So where the price I want it to be less or equal than. Now here there's 2 options. If I click on enter value, then I need to put specific value. So if I put like 200, then every time the query will fire, it will look for products that have a price less than 200. But you don't want this. You want the user to choose the price that he or she want to have a product that's less or equal than. So instead of having it as a fixed value, what you can do is, so I'm going to get the price less or equal, create a new parameter. So there's 2 ways to do that. I can either go to the params on the right side and create a param called price limit. And the type should be from the same type of the price. So the price is double. As we already specified in the collection, the price is double. So here, the price should also be double. So the price limit, it should be double. And then I can see it here inside the options. But something better and faster, you only need to choose create a new param. And it automatically will create a parameter from the same type. So you don't need to worry about choosing the right type. And I would just change the name to price filter. So now I have it as a price filter. And then I will finish the query with get. So now let's test it. So if I put like 200 and I run the test, I can see there's one product. This is less or equal than 200, which is like Puma Future. If I put like 220 and I run the test, I can see like there's 3 products that are less than 220. Okay, this is only for testing. Now here I can put like a default value. So I can put like 199 or 200 as just a default value. And here, then I want to change the query from inside the data builder from get all products to filter by price. And here I can see the price filter. Here I can see the default value I just entered. And here again, if you keep it as a fixed number, I'm passing a fixed value to the query. So if I click on play, I will see one product because it's less than 199. If I change this to 220, if I click on play, I can see 3 products. But this, I want it to be from the user. So instead of it being fixed, I can, now by the way, creating a parameter here allow you to see this here. And then allowing you to see this here will give you the option to create a variable to it. So I'm going to create a variable. And I'm going to call it also edit. I'm going to call it price filter. So here I created the parameter that's, or like a variable called price filter. Why it's a variable, not a parameter? Because a parameter is something you pass from outside. So here the component, I need to pass data from outside to the inside the component. So it's a parameter and it doesn't change. So when the card gets this product, it will only hold this product. It will not change. But here I create a variable because it's not getting from outside, it's from inside the screen. And this variable is for the screen itself. And it usually presents the state. So like you can think about it of like the state now is like, let's say if you have, let's say 200 here. So the state here that you want to see the products are less or equal than 200. So, and then it also can change, so you can update the products, but the parameter cannot change. Okay, so I have the variable here called price filter. So what I want to do is I want the user to change this number. So I want to add a text field here. Okay, so I'm gonna add a text field and I add it in the top, for example. I will not worry a lot about the design for now. So I'm gonna just keep something, do something quick. So I can press shift, group the 2 widgets, and then click on Command G or right click group, and then have them as a group, and then put them as a row because I need them to be next to each other, and expand them and change the alignment to be in the middle and maybe add some space. And I want this to be the top. And I want this height to be a little bit less than that. Okay, it's not beautiful, but I can at least show you the functionality. So the text will be filter. And when I do that, I only need to change the variable, this one, and update the screen. And automatically will now use the, when it updates the screen, the data builder will be updated. So the price here will get the new price and it will show you the products on the new price filter. So inside the filter logic, here I can like, first of all, click on the button and then click on pressed. And here what I want to do is I want to change this price filter. So I want to set the price filter to a specific value. What is a value? It's the value that the user type in the text field. So the text field here called, it has a controller object called text. So I will change it to user price. I will keep it. So this controller comes automatically with every text field, and it allows you to get data and let's say control this widget. So going back to the home screen, I can then get the user price, which is a controller I just created, and get the text. So this will give me the text that's coming from the text field here. But here the type is string, but the price filter is a double. So I need to change the type from string to double. So here, if I just right click, I can see something called parse. And parse will get a string and return it as a double. So I can connect the text here. I can connect the parse here. So, okay, no, not here. Wait, let me just delete it. So, okay. So I have the parse here, and the parse I connected to the setting the price, and then I need to get the user price, the controller, and get the text and catch it here. So what's going to happen now is that when the user clicks on the button, okay, Nowa will get the price input from the user, change it to a double, okay, and then set the variable that's called price filter to the new price. But then I need to also update the UI so that Nowa knows that it needs to refresh the UI. So then I need to do something called refresh in the end. Okay, so now if I click on play, it will start with the default value, which I already entered as 220, I think. Let's go back to check the default value of the variable. Yes, okay, so that's why you have this too. I can set it to be like, let's say, 1000, for example. If I click on play, now I can see all the products. And if I put like 200 and I click on filter, I can then see, oh, one product. If I put 220, I can click on filter, I can see the 3 products. All right, so now we're done with the filtration. Let's see another query, which is the stream. So stream allows you to see the data updated in real time. So let's go back to Firestore and let's create a new query, which is get products live. And here I will apply my query to the products collection, and I will just make it simple. So I'm going to just put the snapshot, and then I can click on run a test. So I can see like now the products here, but I can see the yellow box around it, and this yellow box will tells me that this is a live update. So if I go back to here, like here inside Firestore, and I create a new document, and I put like a name, price, and image URL, and I put like let's say a name like test product, and let's say price. I will keep the image now empty. Click on save. If I add it, if you go back to Nowa, you will see like now it will automatically have the test product added. You don't need to refresh, it automatically been added. So that's a nice thing about it. So if I also like delete it, let's say it will also get deleted from like automatically without you refreshing it. So let's see how this works in reality. So in the data builder, instead of getting the query of filter by price, I will get products live. So now if I click on play, I can get the products. Here I have the test product. But then here, watch what's going to happen. So I'm going to open Firestore in the side of Nowa, for example, so you can see the updates happening live. So now let's say the product is now not available, which is this one, and I wanted to delete it. So if I delete the product, I click on delete, it will then delete it automatically from the app. Now if you use get instead of snapshot, it will not automatically update. The user has to refresh, for example, to update the products. But when you're doing it as a stream, so when you choose like snapshots in the end, which is like what we did here, we choose a snapshot, it will get a live update. But here we're getting get, here we're choosing get, so it's not live. Okay, last query. Let's add a product to the database. So I'm gonna make a new query. I'm gonna call it add product. And here I will apply my query to the collection, call it products, and I will choose add. So in the add, I'm adding a document to the collection. And here I can create a new parameter. As we said before, you can create a parameter with the same type and you match it, but when you do this, it will automatically create one that matches the type. And to add a document inside the collection products, the document has to be from the type products, so it matches the type. Because here we said products, this collection, have documents with name, price, and image URL. Here, when I created this parameter, the type is product, so it has like name, price, and image URL. So it maintain the schema of the collection. So I want to add I just want to change the name to product. Okay, so that's it. So now what I'm doing is I'm gonna add a product object to the collection. So let's test this. So here in the test, I want to put adding test product. I put let's say 30 as a price. I'm gonna put the same. Now this is coming from the default value of the collection again here. So if you go to the image, you have a default value. It's taking the default value all the time until you give it another name. So I'm gonna again put test or add test product. Let's go with 35.9 and with the same image. And if I run a test, I will see data was added successfully. If you go back to the database, you will see that now you have an extra, but the order is not maintained. You can of course order it later. But here, yes, I can see the document add test product, and I can see the price. So I was able to add a product. All right. So now let's try to add a product from the app itself. So here, instead of just adding the name, I will also add a price. I can also add the image URL, but I don't know if I need. Okay, let's actually do that. So I'm gonna add the text field here again. I'm gonna add it to. So I'm gonna switch this to be a column. Okay. So instead of a row, I'm gonna make it a column. And here I have the text field and the button. I have another one. I will just put this inside. And I'm gonna now make this comes bigger, for example. Okay, so now I will have two text fields. I want to put the space to be less between them, and I want to add actually another one. So I'm doing it just for testing for now. I'm gonna cut this here. Okay, I'm gonna add the button to be the text field is outside the group. Okay, that's why. So I want it to be inside, and I want the filter to be below it. Okay, so now we have the three text fields. I have the filter. I will change the filter to be add, and I also might add a small space between. So if I go to the home screen itself, I can here add some spacing between the elements. So here now what's going to happen is that the home screen is a column, and it has the group that have three text fields. It has another one which is a GridView. So adding a space here will add a space between the items. So I just added some space here. And I can also change the selection to be auto, so it actually get the entire, so it's actually the size or the length is exactly as the size of the widgets inside. All right, now let's change the controller name so I know in the circuit each controller what I'm actually referring to. So this one will be the product name. So I want the user to enter the product name in this field, okay? And this one will be for the product price. And this one will be for the product image, okay? So now in the add, I will change the logic. So this was the logic for the filtration, which I don't need now. But now what I want to do is get the, now inside Firebase here in the list, you will see the query, which is add product. So if I connect it here, then I have the, I can then add a product. And here it expects a product input, which is from the type products. So it expects that you send an object that matches the collection products, so it can add it and maintain the same structure. So here, and then on value will be called when adding the document is successful, and on error we call when it's not successful. So here I want to then create an object from the type of the collection products, and fill this object with the information from those text fields, and then give this object to the query, and then it will add it to the database. So first step, in general, you will see something called create, which you can use to create an object. So then here I will choose the type of the object, which is products, which is like I want an object that has the same schema that's the documents inside the collection products have. So I created then an object called, so here the output, if you see, it's from the same type as the input here, so I can actually match them together. So I'm going to do that. So now I'm passing this object to the query. But the name and the price and the image is now getting the default values. I don't want that. I want it to be taken from the user input. So we created 3 controllers. This one is the product name, okay? And here I'm going to get the text, and the name here I'm going to connect it to the name. And I'm going to get the product image, and text will give me a string, and the image here is a string, so I can connect it. So if I hover here, I can see the red lights, which means strings. So the image lighting, the image URL, because a string, the name is lighting because it's a string, but the price is not lighting because the price is a double. So if I connect this one, so the price here is a double, so I need to convert the input from the price filter, I mean from the product price, which is the text field. I'm going to get the text, and then I need to parse it, so I convert the number that the user will write from a string, which is like how the text field usually sends the output of it to the system, to a double. But by the way, be careful. If you put something like a letter, which is not a number, it might cause a problem. So you have to be sure that the input there is a number. So when the parse converted, it will convert it successfully. And then I can connect it. So now I am getting the data from the 3 text fields. I'm parsing only the double to the product price to change it from text to a double. And then I'm adding the object, which I'm creating, I'm sending it to the query, which will then add the product. And inside on value, which is like when it's successful, I can show a snack bar. So I can show a snack bar, and inside the snack bar here, let's just zoom out. So here, it's not scary, we explained this before. This functionality shows a snack bar, and it expects a snack bar object. Here, I am creating the snack bar object exactly how I created before the products object. Here, I'm creating the snack bar object. And here I have some details I can play with, like the background color. So because I'm adding, like here, I'm showing a message that the product was added successfully, I will have a green background. And in the text, actually I'm going to make it maybe lighter. Oh no, I'm going to keep it the same for now. And the snack bar expects a text. So here there's a text object that automatically was created and is sent to the snack bar, which was created and sent to the function of show a snack bar, so it will display the snack bar. So I know it's big because there's a lot of options, but it's very simple. So here I will have the text to be product was added successfully. And by the way, if you click on the code, you can see the full code of the app. It's a Flutter code. It doesn't use like external packages. It's a clean code, something that you can download and you can even scale and use with coding if you like to code Flutter. So go back to the logic. So now I'm done. And the nice thing here, because remember, the GridView here is connected to get products live. So when I add the product to the database, I don't need to refresh the UI because it's a live stream. It will update. So if this was not a live stream, so I mean if this was not snapshots, which is like the query we created here, if it was get, like the one here, then what I need to do after I'm adding the product, when it's successfully inside added, I need to call refresh, because refresh will update the screen. It will go fetch the latest products. But because it's a stream, it updates live, I don't need to do that anymore. So I actually don't need it. So let's play. So now I can see here the products. Of course, like the layout is horrible, but I'm just showing the example here. So I can see like now I have 5 products inside. So actually I'm gonna just a little bit, because it's annoying, I'm gonna keep it like a little bit less. I'm gonna like push it up a little bit. Also here I want the space to be less, so I don't want it to be that big. All right, now I can, at least I can see I have there's more space. So this one, okay, by the way, you can also like customize the text field. So I can here put like some like hints, so I can show that. So I can add a decoration object, and I can put a hint like product or name, for example, and here I can put a hint. It's called price, and here I can put a hint which is called image. So here at least I know. So when I click on it, I know what should I put there. And when I write, the hint goes away. So here I can write product test adding. Oops, not the actual product, but no, actually I'm gonna put a real product. Let's actually just check on the shoes. For example, let's just check one of the shoes. So let's go with what's like a famous brand for shoes? Let's go with Under Armour. So Under Armour shoes. So I'm gonna just choose like this one, and this one is, I'm gonna copy the image address, so I paste it. So I'm gonna call it like Under Armour shoes. The price, let's say $279. I'm gonna paste the image here. Wait, be careful. It's not an image because it doesn't end with gbeg. So I'm actually need an actual image. So copy image address. Let's check if it's also not a gbeg one. So let's see this one. Copy image address. Okay, this one ends with a gbeg, so it's an actual image. So I can add this one here, and then when I click on add, I can see the product added here with the price and the image. Of course, the image, you can change the settings to make it fit. So here, for example, in the component, I can change the fit of the image to be, instead of a cover, can be like fill, for example. Let's see if this works. It's not that good. Let's change it to, let's say fit. Let's say fit width, actually. Yep. Well, it's this. At least I can see the full shoes. So, yep. So now we saw how to actually build the full, how to use actually Firestore completely to build an app. Now, in the next video, what we're gonna do is we're gonna actually apply that on the To-Do app. So thank you for watching, and please, if you build something, show us what you built. We would love to give you some insights, and we would love to help you also using Nowa. So if you have any questions, please go to community.nowa.dev, ask us there, and we're gonna reply to you and help you as fast as we can. Thank you so much, and let's go build something big.